human being is able to sustain itself in a more positive way. Now, what's a good solution to that? I happen to think that maybe it's a time that we look at the whole structure of the Board of Education. I'm beginning to question if we need Board of Education. I'm beginning to wonder if what we need to do is to take the superintendent of the school system and treat them just like we treat the FBI director for the United States of America. Give him or her a 10-year contract. Have them report to the governing authority of the county, of the city, and allow them to only be removed for underperformance or just cause. So let's remove the politics from our school system. There's too much politics in our country. If our board cannot understand that you are to pass a budget and approve contracts and leave the administrators and the principals alone, and so when the principals do not perform, get rid of the principals. When the teachers do not perform, get rid of the teachers. But we have to remove the politics from our school systems, because when you don't do that, then my jail swell up. That's why I have a vested interest in this. I think we need to look at the notion of constantly encouraging everybody that you have to have a college education. College is not for everybody. As I was coming along, we had trade schools. And trade schools gave a good profession. Some people do better with their hands than they do with their brains. If that's the case, then let's tap into that. Because we need plumbers, we need electricians, we need brick masons, we need contractors, we need individuals who can take that and grow businesses and hire other people. I am so tired of people coming to me with a college degree in criminal justice or sports medicine, looking for a job from me in middle management. It is simply not there. It's just not, you can't major in English unless you want to be a teacher or you're going to go to law school. There's nothing else there. So I think we need to take a step back, look at what we're doing, and not do the same thing over and over again.
Chairman Eves, thank you for your leadership in creating this incredible environment where we can all come together and hear it from enlightened leadership. There are a lot of great public servants out there. The good ones, I think, are those that follow the people. So I appreciate your creating this for us to come together today. And Dr. Marks, I wanted to thank you for setting this panel up so brilliantly. A lot of what you spoke to is about the work that I do. As the director of Georgia Women for a Change, we have been at the forefront of creating the most progressive public policy we can think of that will benefit women and girls in Georgia. Our signature work has been in the area of human trafficking. And child prostitution is one of the plagues all over this world, absolutely in this country. And the epidemic has found its way to Atlanta, Georgia, and other portions of this state. What you spoke to was what I call the perfect storm. That's the intersection of this confluence of the widening availability of cell phones and the internet, which has made the prostitution of our young people extremely easy and very hidden. Our culture has created a society where girls are sexualized at a very, very early age, and it becomes okay to bare your little body and to act much more adult and to be treated as if you can make decisions and have the decision-making capacity to choose what you do when we know that's not the case. We know that there's an increase in sexual abuse in our families and in the friends of our families. And that has led to a normalized condition where sex is okay with young people. Those of us in the movement, consider incest boot camp for prostitution. And it often young girls who will run away from home in order to escape the abuse that is going on there will find themselves on the street with no plan, no resources, and immediately prey to predators who can identify them with incredible skill and intuition, who can spot their vulnerability and lure them into prostitution, where they become, and I will use the word, enslaved. There is no other issue that I've been involved with in my years of community organizing, working in the civil rights movement as well as the women's movement, that has so galvanized people from across so many different sectors. Clearly, the faith community has risen up and come together to oppose the human trafficking and particularly the child prostitution that is going on here. It's been incredibly impressive. Women's organizations from throughout the community have come together, and our leaders have followed. Georgia is now known as a state that has, in fact, enacted some of the most progressive legislation around human trafficking in the country. And one of the solutions that our organization, which has led in the development of that legislation, is involved in right now, is House Bill 141. That is legislation that is going to mandate the posting of the National Human Trafficking Hotline number in bars, strip clubs, the airport, truck stops, bus stations, the places where alcohol is served, which frankly is where 85% of all arrests take place around this issue, and other places where we know young women and some boys, unfortunately, are being trafficked. We think this will give them a source for rescue and the beginning of their rehabilitation and getting their dignity and self-worth back. And we also know that for many of us who are starting to identify or suspect that trafficking is taking place, it'll be a great tip line so that we can call this number that is currently 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, with 170 languages available, housed at the Polaris Project in Washington, D.C. It's now in its 7th year, has received over 60,000 calls from all over the country, including Georgia, before it's even been advertised. We're going to mandate that this number gets posted. And let me just tell you what it is, in case you may be in your own life right now aware that something is going on that is not right. The number is 1-888-3737-888. The sequence doesn't sound right, but it actually will take you to the National Human Trafficking Hotline, and urge you to reach out. Hopefully by the end of this session we will have legislated that number be posted in places where we know trafficking takes place. It's just one solution. It'll be one tool that we will have for rescue. We have moved as a community and as a state from seeing that these young girls especially, and the few young boys who are involved, are not the criminals. They are not the criminals. They are victims, and we need to help them. We need to wrap our arms around them as the beloved community that we are, and make sure that they get the support that they can return or have the lives that other members of this panel are going to be talking about and hoping for. It's what they deserve. There are all of our children, and I'm thrilled that I'm able just to have this small platform to thank you for your concern for them. Please join us. Please support this legislation, and please reach out yourself if you know that someone is hurting. Thank you.
Thank you for the opportunity to speak today. I have a number of things that I work on, and it's always hard for me to choose which one to discuss at any moment. I think I'd like to touch upon two issues. We've spoken about diet today, and that word weight or obesity. One of the things that we are working on here at the Morehouse School of Medicine is how do we get a handle on obesity in our populations. And one specific solution that we are exploring is looking at mothers and daughters. Typically, if you see an overweight child, there is an overweight mother there also. The question is, how can we begin to break that cycle? What difference does it make? Well, we know it makes lots of difference to their overall health and well-being. But we also we talk too cavalierly about we eat fried foods and we do this, and we don't talk enough about the fact that we are depressed. Our children are depressed. Our parents, our mothers are depressed. They are stressed. And we expect too much of them without really trying to understand why it is that we do the things we do. So we will be conducting, or in the process of conducting, a mother-daughter dyad study. And if you know of individuals who might like to be a part of that exploration, please refer them to me, because we want to learn what can we do to help address those issues that are causing the dietary problems. It may not be fried food, it just may be too much food. It could be a number of things. And I would like for us to stop stereotyping ourselves and saying we are unhealthy because we eat bad food. We are unhealthy because we live in an unhealthy environment, and one that does not support us for the most part. The other part of the work that we spend a lot of time on in Community Voices is the issue of African American boys and men. And I brought a book for Commissioner Eves that I've just released. It's called Beyond Stereotypes in Black and White, and how everyday leaders have to begin to do something about what is happening to African American boys and men. And some may say, what's happening? And I would say, where are they? Look around the room. They're not here. Where are they? I served on the Board of Corrections. I can tell you where they are. How long are they going to be there? Forever. Because when they are released with that felony conviction, they will not find a job. They will not be able to live in public housing in the city of Atlanta because we don't want people with felony convictions. What can they do? They drop out of school sooner than anyone else. Yet our schools get accredited. How can you get accredited when you've lost all the boys? Wrong with our standards. A solution is to have accreditation standards that say every boy is just as important as every girl. They are not the same. We don't have boys. We have boys and we have girls. And we're losing our boys, and there's a criminal justice system that is just salivating, waiting for them. And you think, no, they're not. Somebody's making a lot of money. Yes. And so I think that another solution for the policymakers would be follow the money. Who's getting the money, and how do we redirect it? Prisons are economic development schemes. And I don't have any problem with people having jobs, but I have a problem when we don't exercise enough of our own brain power to figure out what other things can people do to earn money other than cage young men, principally, who have fallen out of school. We are working on a special project called the MILA Project. And the MILA Project is one where we try to get young men who are coming back from prison reconnected with their children. Because we know that a father in prison, particularly a father in prison, means that his child is most likely to drop out of school. And 24% will be left. They leave school quickly. And the teacher walking through the classroom just says, that boy isn't paying attention. And not really realizing that that young man has a problem. And his mother has a problem because she's under stress trying to take care of all of these issues. So I suppose I want to step back and end by saying, I think we're at an important month, Black History Month. And I go back to some of the earlier thoughts. Are we making history? Are we just relaxing